Hey guys, my name is Jason Flame, host of the Master Motivation Podcast. I am super pumped for another episode today, and even more so with an amazing guest. And let me introduce him. This is Sam Demma, who is an international keynote speaker, best-selling author, and founder of Sam Demma Enterprises, who has delivered more than 750 speeches across 4 continents. His powerful message of purpose, connection, kindness, and generosity has reached millions, with his online videos surpassing 300 million views worldwide. Through books like Empty Your Backpack, Be Someone's Taco, and his upcoming Return on Goodwill, Sam inspires people to take meaningful action and discover the incredible impact of doing good without expecting anything in return. Known for his authentic storytelling and infectious energy, Sam is proof that small acts of goodwill can create extraordinary change. Sam, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Jason, what a pleasure it is to be here, my friend. Thanks for having me.
This is so awesome. I told you pre-interview that one of my instructors, Brent Obillo, gave me this book, Empty Your Backpack, and he said, you got to read this book. It's amazing.
Mm.
And he's a middle school teacher, by the way. So, he deals with that, that
Yeah.
age that really needs to hear these things and can understand it now. And so he gave me the book and I read it. I read it like really fast. I'm usually kind of a slower reader, but I read it really fast because I kept hanging on to it. And when I got to the end, I think I read something like, if you have any questions, reach out to me or contact me here. And so I did, and I was amazed to get a response. Not because of you, but I've had many people that I've reached out to and said, "Man, you've got such a great story. I want to help tell it. I want to be part of it. I just want to have a conversation with you."
Mm.
And I hear nothing back. And then for you to respond, what an awesome opportunity for us to have this conversation today.
Man, I was honored you reached out, and I'm glad that the world brought us together.
Yeah. And I've been following you, you're all over the place, man. I mean, if anybody is not seeing your content, whether it's on Facebook or TikTok or YouTube or watching, I just love the energy that you bring. And when I say energy, I'm not talking like over the top, like screaming and yelling and all of that. I'm talking about that positive energy and just the acts of goodwill can create extraordinary change. I think that's such an awesome lesson for our society now that lives in a digital world where we don't communicate the same way. I mean, we're lucky that we can communicate this way together now, but how powerful is it when we connect face to face, when we do these things in our community and we can really truly make a change, just one little act at a time.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
So tell me a little bit, give everybody a little bit more, on your background and, kind of growing up. I really got into the story of you as a young man that, you had some ideas and
Yeah.
people told you that, you're just a kid. What are you going to do? And just got after it. So tell us a couple of those stories just to get us started.
Yeah, man. I grew up wanting to play professional soccer. I'm half Italian, half Greek, fully Canadian, but that's my heritage. My grandparents came from there, and with that came this love for European football. And from the age of 5 years old till I was 17, that's how I spent all my time. So much so that my email address growing up was soccersam99@hotmail.com. And it breaks my heart I have to explain to students these days what Hotmail is. So
Right?
uh, I had a singular focus. And you read any self-development book, any success book, you'll see that they tell you to have a burning desire, to have this one thing that you're working towards and be very clear on what it is. And for me, playing professional soccer was it. By the time I was 17, I was playing on one of the most competitive teams in the country of Canada. I had a scholarship opportunity to Memphis University pending, and I ended up having 3 major knee injuries, 2 surgeries, lost the scholarship opportunity, spent the next 2.5 years trying to get back on the field before feeling like I was forced to make one of the most difficult choices in my life, which was to stop playing soccer. It felt like I was choosing between continuing to abuse my body in the pursuit of this goal and dream and or make the decision that maybe my future health is more important than my current ambitions. And if I keep pushing myself, maybe I'm not going to be able to just live in the future with all the things that I had going on with my body at the time. And so I decided to stop playing. And when I stopped playing, I felt like I stopped living because it's all I did. It was my whole identity as a person. It felt like I had no other purpose or reason to dream and keep chasing a goal because I didn't have one. And I was really fortunate that at the same time as all of this challenge and transition, I had a really inspirational high school teacher named Mr. Loudfoot, who was always talking about changing the world. And he shared this idea in class about how if you take a small, consistent action towards something, you can make a massive change. And, I was just grappling. I was grasping for grappling. It fits your
I
world.
like it. I like it.
I was grasping for some inspiration, so I really clinged to that and thought maybe I can start taking a small, consistent action in a new direction. And he always talks about changing the world. Maybe I could solve a social problem. That led to walking home from school, asking myself about what my small action would be. I then 2 weeks later started picking up trash that was on the sidewalk during my walks home. Decided my first small act was going to be litter pickups walking home. And then a buddy saw me, said, "Dude, why don't we do it together?" And that was the start of a 5.5-year volunteer project where we would clean up every Saturday morning, fill thousands of bags of trash. And that project is what really got me started in this new direction and ultimately brought me to where I am today.
Yeah. Wow. I remember I'm reading this, I'm reading the book, and you're telling the story about, the picking up trash. And I started asking myself almost immediately, okay, where is this going? But once again, it's those consistent habits over time can make, a massive reaction, a massive change. And I mean, you didn't tell all the stories. I mean, or you didn't tell the whole
Yeah.
story, because how far did you go with this project, and how much? I remember reading so many tons of trash that was cleaned up. Do you remember the numbers?
I do, yeah, and shout out Jackie. I appreciate you showing some love, Jackie. We see you. We filled roughly 3,500 bags of trash. We gave out 6,000 volunteer hours to students and community members during those 5 years. We even did an event called Awareness Day, where we kept the trash we collected for the span of an entire summer and then stationed it in front of our city hall as like a demonstration to the entire community about how a small act can make a big impact.
Yeah.
At one point, we had multiple cleanups going on at the same time. It got national news. It got covered on my mom's Facebook page. So you know how serious it was.
I love it. I love it. So cool. So cool. Now, you've spoken to audiences around the world, right? What experiences above and beyond that experience
Yeah.
has shaped you into the person that you are and the speaker that you've become now today?
Oh man. Nothing's taught me more than my own quote unquote mistakes.
Yeah.
There's been so many moments in my journey that people don't see online. Like I missed showing up to one of my first speaking events. So what happened after the garbage cleanup is I started doing these presentations in schools to recruit students. And after one of these routine promotional talks, a principal pulled me aside and said, "Kid, like that was great. Like they didn't fall asleep." And I was like, "Sir, the bar is that low, eh?" Like, okay. He goes, "No, you don't get it. Like, you have a gift for this. You should consider it. We would bring you back. I'd pay you to deliver a 30-minute thing."
Wow.
And that's when I got really curious about thinking about this as work, not just something I was enjoying. If the world saw value in it and I enjoyed it and it was helping people, why not do it on a bigger scale?
Yeah.
And that led me down this path of keynote speaking. But one of the moments that taught me a whole lot and always does is my own failures and mistakes. One of which was one of my first ever bookings, professional bookings. I was not using a calendar to organize my life at this time, which sounds shocking when you're an athlete, but when you're in high school as an athlete, your parents know the schedule more than you do. And you're, you have practice every night of the week, but you're not worried about the minutes and the special little details. It's just, oh, we have practice at 7. I'm going to get there somehow. Then I started, arranging these presentations, and I still was using a calendar, and I must have agreed to one and then totally forgot. The day of the presentation shows up, and I'm at a cabin, like a cottage, 90 minutes away from the venue, sitting on the dock with my family, and my phone rings. And I pick up this phone call, Jason, and on the other end, the lady says, "Sam, we just want to make sure you're close by. The event's starting here in a few minutes, and it sounds like you're cutting it kind of close, but we're all ready for you." There was 300 people sitting in a room waiting for me to speak. the cottage I was at was a 90-minute drive away.
Mm.
And, I had this moment standing on the dock, my heart sunk. It felt like a decade passed with the phone stuck to the side of my face. And the thought crossed my mind, do I give her a reason or do I tell her the truth? And I chose to tell her the truth, and it really stung. But it's something I've carried forward with me to this day because she then was able to understand the situation, go and find a solution, and also maintain a sense of like respect for her, and
Mm-hmm.
that lesson stuck with me because there's been and will continue to be opportunities in life where you'll be faced with a tough situation, and do you face it or do you run away and hide behind something else?
Mm-hmm.
So that's been a informative experience, and it's the reason why I have 5 different colors coded on my calendar now, and yeah, and everything's good to go.
I love it. Hey, Brent is watching, so shout out Brent. Thank you so much for gifting me this book, because now this book has now put us in a position where we get to talk with the author, Sam. So thank you, Brent. And his comment says, if you're afraid to fail, you're going to be stuck in the same place. And I mean,
Yeah.
to me, I always, this always stuck with me. Someone said to me, if you're not growing, you're dying. And it just always sticks with me, whether it's in the gym, whether it's as a father, as an instructor, as a martial artist, as a husband. You gotta constantly be growing. But part of that growth process is failing. We're gonna fail.
Yeah.
I mean, and Babe Ruth, I believe, Babe Ruth struck out. I don't know, remember the numbers, but he struck out more times than he ever hit home runs. But he still has the home, at least at one point in time, he had the home run record. So we can't be afraid to take that swing,
Yeah.
and maybe we're gonna miss. Yeah. I want to go back, Sam. And one thing that you mentioned before is you had a teacher that made a big impact on you, and I, like you, had a teacher that had this tremendous impact on me. Just
Mm.
that little, I don't even know what it was, because it wasn't like really huge. It wasn't like overwhelming or like totally wow, but like I remember telling him that I wanted to open a martial arts school and that's what I wanted to do as a career. And
Yeah.
everybody else, I was teaching karate in high school, and people would ask me, well, when are you going to get a real job? And I kept teaching into my 20s, and I kept hearing that. When are you going to get a real job?
Mm.
And he said to me, he's like, hey, if that's something you want to do, if that's something that you're passionate about, chase it. Go get after it. You can do it. And it was simple conversations, over time. But the fact that he kind of believed in me, I always look back on that. So this teacher had an impact on you as well, right? Telling you that you were a good speaker, that you could get up in front of people, right? And so, what did that feel like to you? And what does it feel like to be that person for somebody else now? Because now that you're a speaker and you're impacting other people's lives and you're motivating people to chase their dreams, how does that feel?
Yeah, it's funny because sometimes you forget the impact you're having. The thing that had the biggest impact on me with my teacher in his class was how much he cared and took an interest in everyone in the class, not even just myself. Like he would stand up there and he would lecture, and he'd finish teaching something and he'd say, "Hey Kevin, because your goal is to be a fashion designer, like this is how today's lesson applies to your life. And hey Sam, because you want to be a pro soccer player, like this is how this lesson applies to your life." Like he knew so much about us and it showed how much he cared. And I don't think he actually knew how much of a contribution he made, the same way I sometimes forget today, which is why, one of the first events I had that was in a theater, I invited him and his wife Joan, and the speech I delivered was called One Teacher Away. And the whole idea was how we're all just one human being away, one teacher away from totally changing the path or trajectory of our life. And yeah, today, man, like I have a hard time remembering. Like sometimes I forget. You see the views of a video or how many books people are engaging in and reading, and it's like these are real people engaging with this stuff. It's not just a number on a screen. And at times I get overwhelmed with the details and the travel and everything that's going on. And then every once in a while, a little moment will just crack me open
Hmm.
and remind me why I'm doing all this work and continuing to push the mission forward. But
Yeah.
I would say overall, it's a sense of gratitude.
I feel you on that, because every day that I get to step on the mat and work with Doesn't matter to me if they're a 3-year-old or a 33-year-old
Yeah.
or older. I have I love what I do, and I can sense that you love what you do. And I've had many people tell me over the course of my life that if you do what you love, it never feels like work. I don't even
Yeah.
like calling it work. It's not work. It's my passion. And when we talk about teaching, you know, people think that I teach karate, right? I don't teach karate. I teach people, right? I
Mm,
mean, and that's a different perspective when you talk karate, martial arts happens to be the vehicle in which I get to affect people's lives.
yeah.
And I have one student in particular. He's been with me. He started when he was 7 years old. He's almost 37 now. 30 years, that I've had this relationship and this impact. I've watched him graduate high school. I've watched him graduate college. I watched him get married. I've watched him buy his first home, change careers. And I've gotten to be a small piece of that along the way. And these students that I'm teaching now, sometimes they don't understand. When I was in high school, I surely didn't understand, why someone was trying to pour into me, why they seemed like they cared even more than I did. Because man, I couldn't wait to get out of high school. I
Mm,
could not wait to get out of high school. But the impact that those teachers, so like you said, one teacher away, but even just one teacher, one mentor, one parent, one person away from changing a single word sometimes can change the trajectory of someone's life at a certain moment in time.
mm. No, it's so true. And that idea of being with someone for a life's journey, you started teaching him years ago, and it's been 30 years. We think about the work we're doing the same way. We have kids' books. We have books for young adults. We now have Return on Goodwill, a book for adults or general population. And so I'm hoping that as people age and grow up, they have like different things they can reach for in our sphere, our little reality of the world that's helpful to them and can provide hope and good insights on living a better life.
And you got plenty of time ahead of you. You got
Yeah.
decades to go, man. You got tons more work to do. Was there a specific moment when you realized that speaking and storytelling and helping others was more than just an interest, that it was actually your calling? Do you remember that moment?
And that's such a good question. Truthfully, one of the moments that really sticks out in my mind when I think about that is not actually a moment on stage. It was a conversation with a gentleman who I had never met before, and he reached out and was asking about bringing me in to do a speech. And I was giving him an overview of some of the messaging, and I was telling him about my biggest dream in life, which was to play soccer, and how it all fell apart and broke my heart. And now I speak, and I told him the whole story, and he was like, "When are you going to stop telling yourself that?" And I was like, "Pardon?" Yeah. And he said, "When are you gonna stop telling yourself that you were supposed to be a soccer player, and now you speak and finally understand and realize that you were never supposed to be a soccer player, that you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, and soccer and all those challenges prepared you to become the person required to bring this to life.
Hmm.
When are you gonna start telling yourself that story?" He goes, "I'm sick and tired of you hearing it. I hear it online all the time." And I was like, wow, like this guy is passionate and there's something here, you know? And so I think that conversation really helped me understand, like, yeah, man, this is what I was supposed to be doing. And soccer was preparation in making me the man that I am today so that I could effectively reach people and impact people and make a positive impact. Um, I think back to my 6-week trip in Kenya and the people we met, despite the language barrier, the love that was shared and expressed among all the people we crossed paths with, how beautiful of an experience that was. Um, yeah, I would say that was the first moment that popped in my head when you asked that question.
Yeah. Well, sometimes it takes someone just to hit you square between the eyes with a question like that. When are you going to stop telling yourself that?
Yeah,
Because we could literally talk ourselves into believing whatever we want to believe, right? And but for him to like point that out to you, I bet that was kind of a like what we call, an aha moment. You just like went, whoa,
yeah,
like, yeah. And then to really truly embrace it, because you kind of make this shift of hanging on to that feel like I should have been a soccer player, but no, I'm right where I need to be. And this is my purpose. This
Yeah.
is why I was put here. Yeah. And what do you say to people though that are having a hard time of letting go of that I was supposed to be, or my parents wanted me to be, or they're just kind of hanging on to that. And this kind of starts to go into the empty your backpack focus, right? But what do you tell people?
I tell them the same thing you told me a second ago. You're not teaching karate, you're teaching people. And, for a long time, I thought Sam Demma is a soccer player. Like, I'm supposed to be playing soccer. And the reality is, no, Sam Demma is a human being that chooses to play soccer. And so I always tell parents, I tell young people, I say, like your self-worth is not attached to what you do. The only thing you should do is follow your intuition and heart. And if it brings you down a path that doesn't make sense, you can always turn back. You can always change roads. You can always readjust. And I also remind people that like the worst case scenario is typically not as bad as we make it seem in our minds. And so like
Mhm.
play out that scenario from the start, you know? Yeah, I think those are some of the initial things that come to mind when you're sharing that. I also think it's really important to remind any young person, like making such big life decisions at such a young age can feel so overwhelming. You feel like you only make these big life decisions once and it's going to have a big impact. But the thing that makes the biggest impact on your life is the thousands of smaller choices you make every single day that
Mhm.
add up over years and years. And so
Yep.
get control of those when you're uncertain about what the big one should be. Meditation, prayer, reading, journaling, working out, getting around the right people. You might not know where you want to go yet or who you want to be professionally, but take care of the small decisions and maybe you'll find some clarity on the big choices in the near future.
Man, I hope that there are some young people listening to that right there because nothing you said had anything to do with making money or their career or any of that because as a young person that's what we think we're supposed to do. I have a 21-year-old and a 24-year-old and they're in that age of making those really tough decisions, to
Yeah.
where mom and dad are not making those decisions. They have to make those decisions. But you nailed it. You know, Get focused on the little things, read, work out, pray, grow yourself as a person, take care of you. Those opportunities are going to come. You're going to
Yeah.
meet that person that's going to put you in the right place at the right time, and you might move down that career path. But you know what? Some people set out to have a career path and they were in the right place and they were at the right time and they absolutely loved it. And then you start to grow and change. You start to think a little bit differently. You start seeing other avenues where you can make more of an impact. And I think that's bigger. Making an impact to me is far greater. Now, I'm speaking as a 52-year-old man now. Making a bigger impact is far more important to me than making the money that I thought I would need to make to be successful,
Mm.
right? I thought that, make a lot of money, you buy the car, you buy the house, you buy the things, and you're successful. And you know what? If you're not happy about who you are and you're not taking care of yourself, none of those things are
Yeah.
going to make you happy. They might make you happy for the moment, but not long term. I mean, think about being out of shape and having health problems.
Mm.
You're only going to be thinking about one thing:
Yeah.
losing weight and getting yourself healthy, because if you're not healthy, you're not enjoying life, period, no matter how much money you have. So,
Mm.
man, I think you really nailed it on that. And now your book, Empty Your Backpack, focuses on letting go of limiting beliefs, right? What
Yeah.
are some of the biggest things that people carry in their backpacks that prevent them from becoming who they're capable of being? Not what they were told to be, what they should be, what they're capable of being. Let's talk about that.
I think by far the biggest thing people carry that stops them from becoming who they're capable of being is the opinions of other people or the fear of judgment. Even to this day, I experience it. Recently, for the first time ever, I had some person who I've never met before take like 15 of my videos and put them on a TV screen behind him and like lecture about all of the videos and how terrible they were, and then post a YouTube video about it.
Hmm.
And it's never happened like that before. And I thought to myself, like, wow, why would someone do this? And the messages I'm sharing are so like helpful and positive, and it just like really baffled me, and also made me go internal for a sec and be like, what the heck? Like, am I doing something wrong? Like, should I be doing this? And I was driving to a speech in Michigan. So I pulled my car over and I called my dad. I called my parents. I called my friend Savio. I called my mentor, Chris. And I said, guys, like, I'm really taken aback. Like, here's what just happened.
Yeah.
And so I'm saying this from a humble perspective that sometimes I still deal with it, even though I wrote the book. And what I remind myself in those moments is that the mission I'm on is greater than any single person's perspective or opinion on the work. And, usually the negative comments are the outliers, and they're not most of the time a reflection of you or the work itself anyway. It's usually a reflection of their own internal environment, stuff that's going on in their world. It's why I love the quote by Dan Martell. He says, the world isn't as it is, it's as we are. We're all wearing different colored glasses based on our previous experiences. And maybe he's had a bad experience that's led him to want to share negative stuff about positivity online. And anyway, I'm rambling now, but I'd say fear of judgment and the opinions of others is probably one of the highest ones up there that keeps people from moving and taking action toward what they're capable of, their dreams and their goals. And I would say right next to that one is carrying around the wrong people in your circle, because maybe you don't feel influenced by a total stranger. And maybe you don't think the people closest to you are influencing you, but their habits and their ideas and their beliefs quietly rub off on you as well. And, sometimes you only need one reason from someone you love about why you can't do something to actually believe it. And so I would say, let go of the fear of judgment, let go of the opinions of others, and be very selective and intentional about who you bring with you.
I love that. I totally agree with it. In our digital world, our social media that is, way out there, and here you are posting videos and content and writing books of what you believe to be positive and helpful and encouraging. I agree with it. I believe that as well. But there's always going to be those outliers, like you said. And I think that it is something internal that they struggle with that just strikes a chord that, I don't know. I mean, haters are always going to hate. It's just the way it is. And I have to say that I understand that feeling of that internal insecurity sometimes of doing an interview. Am I doing a good enough interview right now? Am I asking all the right questions? Do I look okay? Are my glasses straight?
Yeah.
All the things. Are people gonna critique it? That my lighting's not perfect. I don't have a professional background. My wife and I do a podcast on Wednesdays that's totally off the cuff. And sometimes it's not about any of that. It's about kind of the reason behind it. Like the reason my wife and I chose to do a podcast on Wednesdays, we talk about marriage and parenting and family and just our experience in life. And you know what? We don't know everything, that's for sure. And we may not be giving the absolute best advice, but what we're leaving behind is a legacy for our kids. And
Mm.
that's really kind of our reason and our purpose for doing it. And like you said, your mission is more powerful than any one person's opinion or perspective. And you're never going to make everybody happy. I just did a test, last night and the night before, and I gave a really long, big speech. And I usually pride myself on the speeches that I give. And I was feeling really insecure about it when I got home. I didn't know if it hit the way I wanted it to hit. I know the intention was good. I feel like, I'm always in the right place in my heart.
Yeah.
Um, but I asked my wife and I said, was it good? And she said, just kind of, her lips went straight. So I went, okay, so tell me. And everything that she said was what I was already feeling. And I was like, well, you told me what I knew. And I'm okay with that. But then I also reached out to, a couple people in my circle. Hey, I just want to ask your opinion on this. And they gave me their perspective and they were very supportive. But we have those when we're trying to make an impact, when we're so passionate and so we care so much about the people in our lives that we want to make a big difference.
Yeah.
I really care about what I say. And so, again, now I'm rambling, but having someone's opinion can help or hurt us. It can
Yeah.
definitely help. And if you have the right people in your circle that are supporting you, but can tell you the truth and can help you grow, then I think that we're in a good spot. Now, you talk a lot about purpose and connection and generosity. How can someone begin living with a greater purpose when they feel stuck or uncertain or unsure about what direction their life should take? And I really want to hone in on that, your generosity. Like I said, being on the show with me today, you didn't have to do this. You really didn't.
Oh,
I'm a needle in a haystack, and you said yes. So talk about that.
I would start by saying if you're having a hard time finding your purpose, decide that your purpose right now is to become the best version of yourself and share that version with the world. So there's no like finish line. That's a lifelong project. And that looks like working on yourself until you find some work that you're also passionate about working on. And that's okay. Um, I think that people's purpose is not a singular thing, that throughout life it can change. I hope and I'm blessed that I'll have a family in the future and my purpose may shift and have a new meaning to it. And it's not only just about work and making an impact, but now it's about raising kids and being a good father and a dad. And all those things excite me. And I'm
Mm.
excited for them. And if we can think about our purpose evolving in that context, it can also evolve professionally. Um, Generosity. How can people start living with more of it right now? The simplest way, just start being aware of the needs around you. And if you're in a position to fill some of them, do what you can to fill it and then reflect on how it makes you feel in your heart. And if the experience in your heart is a really beautiful, meaningful one, look for more opportunities to serve and give, even in very small ways. I'll give you a perfect example. I was one time flying to a speech and I called the only person I call when I get booked somewhere to talk to celebrate with, which is my
Mom,
grandma. Sorry,
your
Jason.
grandma. Okay. All right.
No, that's fair. That's fair. And it's kind of funny because she's Italian and I've been speaking for almost a decade. She still has no idea what I do. And and she's like, Sam, what do you mean they invite you to speak? I'll pay you to stop talking. And I'm framing it like she's not supportive. She's one of my biggest supports. And I was flying to Sacramento to do a big speech for about 5,000 people. And I'm really nervous on the second United flight, flying to Toronto to Denver, Denver to Sacramento. So from Denver to Sacramento. And I'm sitting in an aisle seat. We're like 40 minutes in the air. And the flight attendant starts, walking around serving snacks and refreshments. And he gets to our row and he turns to me and he says, pretzels or cookies? By the way, if you're watching this live, drop a comment in the chat box, pretzels or cookies. We'd love to know your thoughts on this question. I said, I'll take the pretzels, please. And Josh handed me a bag of pretzels, served the rest of the people in our row. Then he turned his back to me and served the row sitting across the aisle from us. And he noticed the gentleman that was sitting in the aisle seat was staring at his phone this close to his face, watching a TV show. He asked him the most simple question. He said, excuse me, sir, would you like a phone stand? Now, I've been on lots of flights in my career, in my life. I've never seen or heard a flight attendant ask that question to a passenger. I thought he was going to pull out some brand new iPhone stand from Amazon and hand this box to the passenger. But instead, he grabbed a paper cup that he was serving refreshments in. He ripped the cup, the rim of it, into 3 equal flaps. He flipped 2 of them back inside the cup to make a solid foundation. And the third one, he extended forward and bent upward to make a little ledge so this customer could rest his phone on it. I'd never seen this before. I got so excited, broke the law, meaning I unbuckled my seatbelt when the sign was still on. And I ran over to Josh and I was like, dude, did United Airlines train you to do this? And he said, no. I said, well, then why do you do it then? He said, man, it makes me feel really good when I serve other human beings. And he taught me the simplest formula for living a more generous life. He said, step 1, recognize a need. Step 2, fill it. In your day-to-day life, if you see a small need or a need of someone else that you're in a position to fill, do what you can to fill it. And sometimes the need is so simple. It's a frown on someone's face. They might just need a smile or a good morning. Maybe if you're traveling and the lady in front of you is having a hard time carrying her luggage into the overhead compartments, friction, you pick up her bag and put it up there. But it's really just being present enough to recognize the needs and then do what you can to fill them.
I love it. It I think a lot of people think that, when we talk about generosity, it has to be grand. It has to be big. It has to be donating lots of money or spending lots of money, spending a lot of time. But I mean, that was the most simple example that you just gave right there with a phone stand, see a need and fill it. And the Josh, just recognize the fact that I just love it, just makes me feel great to serve another person. And, I- we're not going to get too deep into this, but I'm a Christian, I'm a Catholic,
Yeah.
and Jesus Christ is our perfect example. And if we could just live that life of serving others before we serve ourselves,
Mm.
I mean, what a change that makes right there. But again, people think that it needs to be grand. People think that it needs to be big, and it really doesn't. Because a smile literally can
Yeah.
change someone's attitude. Opening a door, these are things that I talk with my leadership team, my middle schoolers as they're getting ready to go to high school and stuff. And we talk about leadership. I'm like, leadership isn't about being in charge.
Mm.
Leadership is about serving. Like, you're serving others. What can you do? And I try to teach even my young 3 and 4 year olds, hold the door open for your mom and dad. Just that simple thing. And it goes back to simple things, simple habits that we repeat over time, those consistent habits over time really change who we are as a person. And if we could just start with those simple, small habits, amazing. Now, here's the story that many people may be familiar with when they hear your name, right? Your children's book, Be Someone's Taco,
Yeah.
focuses on small acts of kindness. Why do you believe seemingly small gestures can have such a powerful impact on another person's life? But really, what I want to know is, tell the story about the taco.
Yeah.
Tell the story about your friend.
Yeah. So it's the pandemic, and I'm starting my second year serious in speaking and booking all these events. And then all of a sudden, every single booking asks for a refund, and they disappear on the whole calendar. And I'm freaking out because, if you read Empty Your Backpack, you'll read that I took a very different path in life. I pursued my post-secondary education for a time to pursue this and was convicted that this is what I was supposed to be doing. And then another massive obstacle feels like it wipes everything back to the beginning. I start feeling sorry for myself and recognize that I'm not the only person struggling. Like, the whole world is changing because of the pandemic right now. Let me make sure my friends are good. So I call up my buddies one by one. One of them, Andrew, picks up my call 2 p.m. And the first thing he tells me, "Yo, Sam, I'm still lying in bed." And I was like, man, this guy didn't do any, didn't do any martial art class last night or test for a new belt. Like, there's no reason he should be in bed till 2 p.m., except for the fact that maybe he's not doing so well. And I could hear it in his voice. And we've all had those days where things are just not going the way we expected them to, where things are happening and it feels like we can't catch a break. And I could just empathize for him, and I wanted to do something to make him feel better. And so our conversation ended. I go on his social media immediately looking for something that he enjoyed so I could try and surprise him and make him feel better. And I come across this post on Facebook that said he loved eating tacos. Most elementary idea crossed my mind. I'm like, this guy likes tacos. I'm going to surprise him with tacos tonight. And so I went on Uber Eats. I found this taco dinner. I punched in his address. I put a special note for the delivery person that said, "Hey, these tacos are from your friend Sam. He hopes you feel better." I stared at my phone for the next 20 minutes. You know how you can watch the car on Uber drive
Yeah.
down all the streets? And I remember I finally got the notification saying the tacos have been delivered. And it was almost instantaneous. Right after the notification, I get a phone call from Andrew and a FaceTime, not just a phone call. And he's sitting in front of his kitchen counter. There's a box of tacos open behind him, and he is uncontrollably bawling his eyes out. And I'm like, dude, it's a paper bag with 2 tacos. Please relax. And he's like, man, no, you're missing the entire point. Like, it's not the food. Me and my wife Emily could have bought these ourselves. It's the things you weren't aware of. Like, you had no idea that our business not doing so well right now. We're going to have to shut it down. We've had to lay off an employee. We don't know how we're going to make things work for the next little while. Maybe for you, this gesture is just about 2 tacos, but for me and my wife, it's a moment of hope. I get emotional. We have this emotional conversation on the phone. I hang up, go about the rest of my day, feeling really good. I go to sleep. I wake up the next morning. 500 text messages from Andrew of 500 individual taco emojis. All right. The next year, every time we had a phone call, at some point in the conversation, he would interrupt me and he'd say, Sam, do you remember that one time when you sent me and my wife? I'm like, dude, shut up, please. And then the same year on my birthday, he actually hires a graphic designer to make this. He makes this phrase and logo and gives it to me as a gift. And it's a yellow smiling taco, and above it says, "Be someone's taco." And he said, the whole idea is not to encourage people to buy each other food, but to recognize one of the most meaningful things we can do in life is serve another human being. That being someone's taco is just about being whatever someone needs you to be. And, we took that story and we turned it into a children's picture book that teaches kindness and empathy to kids, and parents and young people are loving it. It's led to a lot of meaningful conversations. There's an opportunity in the back of the book to mail a letter to Sammy about the small acts of kindness kids are doing in the community. And those letters, man, they light me up and get me so excited. But I'll tell you, the thing that cements in my mind that these small gestures can make a massive ripple is truly how I feel in my heart when I choose to engage in one. And I think that's the strongest reason to consider generosity and these small acts of goodwill. And I would encourage people to not take my word for it, to go and do something for somebody who can't repay them, and just observe how it makes you feel.
Yeah. Well, I can remember, and I talk about this a lot, with my wife on our show and in different, my wife is that person. She is someone's taco always. It's always someone's birthday, a little something extra, a little something above and beyond. Any special event, is always made 10 times more special. But I was always the person in my previous life, before I met her,
Yeah.
maybe even a little bit after, where I was so focused on the return. Like, I'll do this for
Mm.
you if you do this for me, or if I do this, I'll get back. And, I have to be honest, it led to a lot of disappointment
Yeah.
because I would give and give and give, and then I wouldn't get
Yeah.
anything back, and I would be disappointed. But the thing is when you give with no expectation of anything in return, it just feels good.
Yeah.
It just feels good.
The difference I talk about in the book is inspired by a situation that unfolded in Kenya, where the driver of our car chose to give some money out of his window. And I was like, dude, there was somebody else who needed that. Like, this guy who asked was in a fully dressed business suit. And like, there's people literally right over there who look like they're starving. Like, why did you give him the funds? And he was like, man, when I give because I believe that that person needs it, I create a condition for my giving. And like, then it's not giving. It's called a loan. And no wonder you get disappointed when you don't receive back, because if you loaned your money to somebody or you loaned your time to somebody and you didn't get anything back, you feel like you've just been ripped off. He's like, for me, I gave that guy money who knocked on my window because I went inside my heart and realized, like, I want to give in this moment. It feels like the right moment to give. And so I chose to give. And so I think thinking about it as loans versus gifts will help people, through that concept of the disappointment that sometimes happens. The other thing is the physical return is a bonus. Like, if something beautiful happens externally, that's beautiful. But the real value of living out that philosophy every day is that it changes the amount of gratitude and joy and fulfillment you show up with. It changes the way you live your life when you fully lean in. And I think that makes all the difference.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. And a daily habit that I've tried to continue. I read a lot of John Maxwell books,
Yeah.
and waking up and reminding myself immediately, going through my grateful list at the
Yeah.
end of the day. How did I contribute? And like, talk about like change in perspective and change in just how you feel. It's truly, it is life changing. When you can wake up and just like, man, I got a good night's sleep. my body feels good. I'm healthy today. You know, I share this, quite often. My wife was diagnosed with leukemia 2 years ago,
Yeah.
and God, God willing, she is healthy and great and doing well now. But that was really tough, and to know that she had to wake up and feel, doubt or feel any of that, like, and watching it was hard. But now it's like every morning, wake up, we're healthy, we're good, we're not in the hospital today. You know, sometimes it's life experiences that change you, but
Mhm.
sometimes it's just hearing the word from somebody else that kind of makes that change. And for you, your friend Andrew, I think now for the rest of his life, right? He's going to be thinking about that damn taco, right?
Yeah.
And he's going to keep talking about the taco.
Well, I'll tell
Now,
you too, like real quick, what I don't talk about in the videos online is that like that turned into a massive thing. Like Taco Bell Canada ended up getting in contact and starting to giving out free tacos to kids at schools, like near speeches I was delivering. And so like talk about a return on goodwill, and like you're going into it with just a pure heart and intention, and beautiful things sometimes happen. And it's a cool surprise when they do. Sorry, I think you froze there for a sec, Jay.
no, I'm good. You good?
Yeah, cool.
Sweet. Yeah, no, and so let's kind of like not fast forward, but
Yeah,
let's talk about, your upcoming book, because we're
yeah.
talking about, return on goodwill, right? It explores doing good without expecting anything in return. We've talked a little bit about, where that philosophy has come from and how practicing that has changed your own life. But tell me a little bit more about the book, and tell me about, what made you want to start writing books. Speaking is one thing, but, writing books. Tell me about
Yes.
it.
Someone told me that you're limited right now by how many people you can reach because you have to physically be in the room for someone to be impacted by what you're doing. And this was years ago, before I even started posting multiple videos online. Now people see our speeches every day all over the globe. But at the start, it was just me delivering, talks in classrooms and for Rotary clubs and Christmas breakfasts. Like it was very different than what it is now. Um, and I took that idea to heart. I was like, you know what? Maybe I need to take some of these ideas that I'm sharing in my speeches and put them into a book. And I thought about it for like 3 years and did nothing. And
Hmm.
it wasn't until I had a conversation with a young man who was really struggling with a bully at school. And as a result, told me his biggest goal in life was to have 50,000 followers because he thought if he had followers, the bullying would go away. And when I dug deeper, I realized that it was really just about carrying these other people's opinions about himself so deeply that it changed the way he showed up. It changed the way he felt at school. It changed how big he dreamed. It changed what goals he selected. And I was like, man, we got to take owner. We got to take control of of our our beliefs, like the opinions we carry, because they have a big impact on us. And I thought about beliefs and the things we carry, and I thought, what do students carry? Because that's who I'm speaking to right now. And I thought they carry backpacks. And so I started building out this metaphor of our minds as this big backpack full of thoughts. And I ended up going online and searching giant backpack and finding this big red bag. And I wrote a spoken word poem titled Empty Your Backpack. If you search Empty Your Backpack poem on Google, you'll find it. And I published it. And after I did, it got a good response. And I was like, man, there's something more here. And for the first time in my career, after that conversation with the gentleman who said, you're limiting your reach right now, you should think about creating a book. I revisited that idea and thought maybe this is a concept that'll be helpful to more people. And so I didn't know what the heck I was doing. I sat down, started filling Google documents. I spent 6 months writing stories, and then I scrapped it all and started over, but this time with some help of people who had written books before. So yeah, that's kind of how the first book journey started, and I just haven't stopped writing since because of the positive impact I've seen the books having on people. I today am releasing my next book on my birthday, which is September the 11th. The book is called Return on Goodwill. You've already kind of mentioned the premise, and I'm really excited about that one because it's not a novel idea. Like this idea of giving, expecting nothing in return, and life unfolding in beautiful ways as a result is not new, and it's been talked about for thousands of years. But the stories and experiences of mine and the people who have contributed to the book, because we have so many stories of others, make it a really beautiful read. And I think it'll touch a lot of people's hearts.
That's amazing. Well, I've gotten to take a small sneak peek at it so far, and it's just it's really, when I read this book too, it's really easy to read,
Mm,
right? And I say that because sometimes people pick up a book and they just, I don't know, their brain gets tired or their eyes get tired or they're just not in the right mindset to read it. I'm reading another book. I won't mention it, but it's like 500 pages, and I'm like struggling, literally struggling to get through it. But like books like this that tell such good stories and things that are easily, not only, they're applicable to almost anybody if you really kind of reach within yourself. But I mean, those different age groups too. Like Brent was saying, this book really resonates. The Empty Your Backpack really resonates with his middle schoolers that kind of struggle with those things that they hold on to and just kind of
yeah.
releasing those things. Um, but I'm looking forward to reading the rest of the new book. And Brent is saying one of his students cried from Backpack because she related so well. It made her
Aw.
feel less alone about her struggles. And I mean, gosh, isn't that the feeling of so many kids, feeling alone?
Mm,
And I've been in that place where I felt lonely, maybe not alone, like I was the only one feeling that.
mm,
Um, and sometimes that comes from a selfish place, and sometimes that just comes from despair, and at the end of the day, kind of like you were saying about Andrew with the tacos, like you don't know what's going on. You don't always know what's going on in someone's life and what they're truly challenged with at that moment. You don't know
yeah.
what just happened 5 minutes ago, what happened yesterday, what's going on with their mom or dad or family, So I think that reading books like this helps people just, remind ourselves. I mean, I'll leave it at that, and I'll let you talk a little bit more. But your speeches, right? Because you speak a lot, 750 speeches.
Yeah.
Uh, I'm sure that's an estimate somewhere, but you've probably experienced a lot of successes and failures, nervous moments, unexpected lessons. What has speaking taught you about yourself that you never could have learned otherwise?
Oh man. I think the biggest thing it's taught me is that choosing to improve and evolve is a choice once you reach a certain level of impact and success, because people love the stories I share, and there's a new audience around every corner who has never heard them before. And so if I chose to, I could just reflect and share the same stories I've been sharing for 10 years for the rest of my career, instead of challenging myself to extract ideas and lessons from my current experiences to kind of share a more evolved perspective on how I feel today. So that's like one of the biggest lessons I've taken away, is that it's very easy to get comfortable, um, and to not make the decision to improve and continue growing. And that's why I push myself to write new books. And I'm delivering a 60-minute brand new speech for this book launch tour, the 9 shows we're doing around Canada, and then hopefully we'll bring it to the US as well. But that's one of the things that I've learned. Another thing I've learned is I learn a lot more when I'm not the person on stage speaking. So, you know, I do enjoy performing like so much, and I know it impacts people, but sometimes I wish that I could sit in the crowd and be the observer and listen to the stories of everyone that I speak to, because that's where I get my greatest ideas and wisdom, is in like relating to other people and hearing what they have to share and what they have to say. So it's taught me the importance of listening and not being in the spotlight all the time. And I've also learned that it's really hard to do meaningful work and impactful work alone. It takes a village. And so I waited way too long to reach out for professional support. But thanks to a phenomenal book called Buy Back Your Time by a guy named Dan Martell, I was able to understand the need for help and support. And now we have a small team who helps make sure that we continue reaching people and making an impact. So those are 3 little lessons from speaking.
Well, thank you for sharing that, and you're doing a great job. Making an impact through your speaking, through your books, through your videos. I hope to continue seeing this for many more years to come. And I know that your perspective is going to change. As you become a father, as you
Yeah.
become a grandfather later, our perspective definitely change. And now those stories have a whole new meaning and a whole new mission that you can add to it. So for leaders and entrepreneurs and educators and parents who are listening today, what are some practical ways that we can create stronger connections and make the people around us feel genuinely seen, valued, and appreciated?
I'll give you a few ideas that I love from the book. So here's one. Uh, Ask yourself, what's the question behind the question? Sometimes a young person will walk up to us and they'll say, like, hey, can you help me figure out the first step to take to, kickstart this project or this idea? But in the tone of their voice, it sounds like they're really nervous or doubtful. And maybe the real question they want to ask you is, hey, do you believe I can actually do this?
Mm.
But that's not the question they voice. And so most often there is a question behind people's questions. I think it's so important as parents or caring adults, when young people are talking to us, we ask ourselves, could there be a question behind this question? And how can I answer that one in addition to the one they just asked me? One of the other ideas that I think is so helpful is to act before being asked. If you think about it, if someone was drowning, we wouldn't shout at them, hey, do you need a life raft? We would just throw one at them. And if they didn't need it, they would just leave it there. But if they did, to save their life, they'd grab it. If you see someone in your life that looks a little overtired, or looks like something's off, proactively see if they're okay, or do something before they even tell you and see if it changes how they feel. Because so often people are carrying their burdens and challenges alone. One of the other ideas in the book is to assume positive intent. I talk about this online all the time. This idea that what matters more than what's happening is the story we tell ourselves about what's happening. And so the next time someone cuts you off in traffic, instead of assuming they're doing it on purpose, just assume they have to go poo. And it's like, we don't actually know the truth, but the story we tell ourselves changes how we feel. Well, as a parent, take that idea into your marriage. Take that idea into the conversations with your kids, with the angry emails at work. It'll change the way you feel.
Yeah, great advice. Good advice. So last question, and I don't know if there's a question behind the question, but when you look ahead at the next chapter of your life and your career, what impact do you hope that you and your work ultimately leave on people and the communities you serve?
Yeah. The question behind the question. What's your legacy? What do you want to?
What's your legacy?
Yeah. It's like, man, I really hope that when I'm far gone from this planet, people will, whether they talk about it or not, the people that experienced it in the present moment, I hope it inspired them to live slower, meaning to notice the needs of the people around them, to show up with a smile on their face and a little more positivity, to extend a hand to a stranger who might be in need, to follow their intuition, even if it took them down a very different path than the one the people around them had in mind for them, just to make the world and people a little bit better.
How do your parents feel about you speaking, writing books, doing what you're doing? And they have to be super proud, because I'm looking, if you were my son, which you might be young enough to be my son, I would be super proud of all the things and all the things that you're doing, and not just what you've accomplished. It's not just about the book. It's not just about the 300 million views, right? It's about truly about the impact. I mean, the impact enough to where me as a 52-year-old man is reaching out and saying, man, I have to talk to Sam. I want to hear from you. How do your parents feel about all this?
They tell me that they're so proud. They attend all my shows. They still buy tickets when I'm doing an event. I'm like, Mom, I told you, I'm going to give you seats. You don't have to, no, honey, we want to support. It's not a lot of money. I'm like, Ma, please, we have this, we have this in place. But they just they've been the biggest supports. And, even to take it a step further, my parents, my sister, my grandparents, my girlfriend, my team, all of them, they just endlessly support and push me in this positive direction and make me a better human being. And, I feel blessed in that regard.
That was not on the list of questions that I gave you, but I had to ask it because I'm just really looking here thinking man, It's got to be extraordinary. It's got to be extraordinary. Before we wrap up, can you just let people know like where they can find you
Yeah.
online, and where can they connect with you, upcoming speaking engagements, your book launch, all the information about that.
Of course. Best way, go on Google, search my full name, Sam Demma, Samdemma. We have a website. You'll find all the information on there. If you prefer using social media, we're on almost every platform. So choose the one that's your favorite. Search my name up on there. The new book, Return on Goodwill, can be found on our shop. So if you go to shop.samdemma.com or you just go to our website, samdemma.com, there's a tab for the store. We have all of our products up there. We also have stickers and hats and fun stuff for the whole family. So check all that out. And if you haven't already, please make sure you subscribe to this podcast and you come back and you tune in again, because I wouldn't have an opportunity to share without it. And you're doing amazing work.
Thank you, Sam. Well, listen, I really appreciate your time, the conversation, the work that you're doing. Keep doing what you're doing, man. It has already made such an impact, and I hope that people will watch this video. And yes, I would like it if you subscribe. Master Motivation Podcast on YouTube. But what you're also, your podcast is it just Sam Demma?
You know what? I don't really have a formal show right now, but if people want to follow along, social media is perfect for now.
Perfect. Okay, cool. All right, awesome. Well, let's see if there's any other comments that just came up. Yep. Brent watched all
Thanks,
the way to
Brent.
the end. So, Brent, I'm telling you, man, thank you so much. I really appreciate this opportunity, because
That's awesome.
without receiving this gift, I would not have had such an amazing conversation. And you were talking about listening, Sam. It's one of the reasons why I love doing this show. I love having a guest on to where I get to listen, because I teach a lot, I speak a lot,
Mm.
but I really do like, and we like the spotlight, but we like to listen too. We like to soak it in, and it helps us to be to be better in our craft. So I think everybody helps everybody when you come from that mindset. So again, truly appreciate your time, and I hope to connect again soon.
Thanks, my friend. Same to you. Keep up the great work.
All right. Thank you so much. All right, guys. That's it for Master Motivation today with Sam Demma. Go check him out, samdemma.com. You got to read this book. You got to read Empty Your Backpack, and you got to read the new book coming out. Go and purchase it, and we will see you on the next show. Thank you so much. Take care. Bye-bye.
See you, everybody.